Welcome to Ready to Heal. I'm your host, Betsy Sawyer Galen, and this is a show about alternative healing, all different kinds. Some you've heard of before, and some I'm sure you've never heard of. Today, we're going to continue the conversation with my guest, Bobbe Bramson. She is an angel healer. She calls herself an angel medicine woman, a vortex healing practitioner, and a soul treasure healer.
Yes.
And today we're going to continue the conversation about angel healing, and we're also going to get into the soul treasure healing and vortex healing. But for right now, let's try to refresh where we were.
Okay.
Tell us how you got started.
Okay. I became interested in energy healing, which is the main focus of the work I do, or perhaps other people might prefer the term energy medicine, as really a way to help me in my life. This was when I really started using energy medicine was around the year 2002. And, prior to that, I had been a spiritual seeker, and I had studied metaphysics, and I had certainly had a connection with the divine that I knew was there, and I meditated a lot. But my life brought to me circumstances that needed addressing. And the methods that I was using were not going deep enough. They were not taking care of me in any way that was lasting. And I felt lost. I felt as if I had lost my direction. And I had certain health issues. I had lots of emotional pain. I was very hard on myself, and regular therapy and things like that weren't working. And I'm also the kind of person that's sensitive, so I didn't want to take drugs, nor, in my opinion, are drugs the answer to all problems. So I sought out other methods, and the first method that I came to was Reiki, which is a universal life force energy healing method that originated in Japan in the early part of the 20th century, and which is used a lot now in hospitals. Back when I started taking Reiki and learning how to use it and becoming a teacher of Reiki, there were no empirical studies, really, of how Reiki could assist a person in feeling better. But now it's been proven. They're using it across, at least I know, in the United States and Canada, and probably in Europe as well, to help patients relax, open up the meridians in their body. That's a Chinese medicine term having to do with different points in our body where energy can get stuck. And what Reiki does is it opens it up. So that's how I came to energy medicine. And I just, again, like I said last time, I followed the crumbs. I wanted to be able to go home. And to me, home was the place of feeling comfortable in my body, peaceful with who I am, and allowing my light to shine in the world to help people.
Uh-huh. And now that led you over time into the angel healing?
The angels were kind of there sort of all along in a strange way. Yes, they like I said, I would pray and I would meditate. And I would ask for direction. And I think I mentioned last time that because I was brought up Jewish, I had no idea there even were angels. That was something. But once I was in elementary school and I came into the culture, which was very Christian, of course, there were angels everywhere, especially at Christmas time with the music and the beautiful decorations. And I was very... I was just very entranced by these beings of light. I wondered about them, and they came to me. A lot of people say with angels you're supposed to, you have to ask them for help. And that's true in the sense I think that people need to be willing to open themselves to help from the divine, right? If we're closed off, we're not going to be open to anything that comes our way.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like I didn't say, oh, please bring angels into my life. They just started coming in and getting my attention in unique and wonderful ways that I just, because of who I am, I guess, because of some deep inner calling. Maybe it's like a magnet to, you know, whatever a magnet draws. Maybe it's something my heart was maybe calling me.
It's an energy, maybe an energy pull in some way.
Oh, yeah.
Now you are also doing something called soul treasure healing, and tell us about that. I don't know anything about that. Are you the only practitioner of that? Is that your own thing, or is that out there in other places?
It's my own thing. It's something that it's sort of a name that I wanted to find a way to describe the essence of the work that I do with people and the work that I continue to do on myself. You know, I'm not like this person that's perfect and has no problems. I'm still going through my own process of self-discovery and clearing blockages to my being the most I can be and the best I can be. So, no, I needed a word that would describe it. And so my main issue in life, and I believe it's the issue in most people's lives, has been, to one degree or another, is to express the truth of who I am, to shine my light. And there's all kinds of ways in which we block that, right? There's all kinds of ways. There's illness, there's self-sabotage, there's constant fear and worry, there's anxiety attacks. I mean, we could go on and on, all the ways that we are shut off from expressing the truth of who we are, expressing what I call the soul treasure. So these are the parts of ourselves that have been hidden and pushed down into the shadows, both the good and the bad and the ugly and everything in between, that we deem, I can't show that. That's not allowed. Ooh, I better not.
Are you saying the soul treasures are maybe some negative aspects or aspects of ourselves that we consider to be negative, but are really just part of us, and we don't want to show them, so they kind of get suppressed?
They get suppressed, exactly.
Because I think the good parts get suppressed in a lot of people too. I think that's another thing that also is suppressed, and that's another thing that people need to be able to come out.
I agree 100%. I mean, the shadow contains both what we call good and what we call bad, what we call okay and what we call, ooh, that's taboo. So yes, the soul treasure, in the way I define it anyway, is, you know, I believe we come into our lives to work through and uncover that soul treasure, to really allow ourselves to become whole again. That's really what it's about, to become whole again, instead of these fractured beings that are cut off from themselves. And that's, in Western culture, we tend to do that very well, and especially women. Women in particular are taught from a very young age that there are many parts of themselves that are just verboten. They're not supposed to show them.
Right.
And so soul treasure healing was born of my own journey, and I work with clients to help them uncover and express and even realize and awaken to that they have hidden parts of themselves. People come to me and say, oh, I just, you know, I can't work anymore. I have to quit my job. I hate being there. I can't get along with my boss. And then, you know, as we work together, what we discover is that there are all kinds of things from their childhood and things that they were taught in school that keep them from enjoying their life, from finding or from leaving the job, having courage to leave it and find a better one, or learning the skills to be able to communicate.
So tell me, give me an example, because what's an example of a person would come to you, they wouldn't necessarily know that you're going to work with the soul treasure thing, but what's a problem that somebody might have that you would go, oh, I think we'll do a soul treasure healing?
Soul treasure healing is a combination of energy work, counseling, and coaching. And the magic of it is, the beauty of it is that it synthesizes all the various things that I've learned, all the various techniques that have helped me, all the various energy modalities and divine healing techniques put together perfectly for that person. So let's say, let me think of a good example, a juicy example to give you. So someone came to me just a couple weeks ago, and her complaint was that she felt like no one understood her. No one understood her. And no one, and that this had gone on her whole life, that she always felt like a stranger, even in her own family, especially in her own family, because our families bring up all that juicy fodder for work, you know?
Yeah.
So basically, she came in, she sat down, and the first part of the session, a session's about anywhere from an hour and 15 minutes to longer, an hour and a half or so. She came in and first she laid out her problems. And the first thing that happens is that we bring in this divine matrix of healing energy, just through the intention that this is here for the person. And sitting in this space, she talked about what was on her mind regarding this issue. So what happens is the divine is helping her come to places that she hasn't come to before, that will be revealed to her, like finding out that her mother was someone who didn't encourage her, didn't say, oh, honey, you're beautiful. You have everything you need to be a wonderful success in life. And I know you, and I know what's in your heart, and I treasure it. So you're no stranger to me, right? So that seed was planted in her very early because of the alienation, that she wasn't welcome, that she couldn't communicate, that she would never be understood. And so that gets acted out in her life. So through the counseling part, that's the first part.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then in the counseling part, after the counseling part, then, which, you know, the energy is there the whole time, then Spirit will guide me, and we, this young lady and I, would decide what she would best serve her. Would it best serve her to do some vortex healing and maybe go back to, bring into her system the energy of, I'm welcomed. Just starting there, giving her system what it longs for but doesn't have. So maybe we'd start with that. Or maybe we would do an angel reading of some kind, a brief angel reading with cards that would help her see and give her information. Or maybe I would do an angel radiance transmission. Or maybe what she needs more than anything else is maybe just some gentle Reiki to calm her down and make her feel like she loves herself. And that would be the bulk of the session. And then at the end, there's a part of wrap-up where the universe brings to the client an understanding, a cohesive understanding of, well, what just happened? And what might happen in the future now that this little shift has occurred in my energy field? Because that's what happens.
Now, talk a little bit about that. You're saying a shift in an energy field. What is that?
If I'll use her as an example too. I'll call her Kathy. Her name wasn't Kathy. I'll call her Kathy. If Kathy's been going around with the belief deeply embedded in her being, in her core, that she can never find connection with anything, no one understands her, And then all the offshoots that come from that. I'm unwelcome, I'm no good, I'm unworthy, I'll never be able to communicate what I feel inside, so I'm all alone. Oh, if I'm all, so all that, right?
Everything that would
all
come from
of that,
that
all
basic
of that.
feeling.
Yeah, so all of that comes from that. So, okay, so I lost track of the question because I'm getting into the answer. Okay, so she needs to have, her field when she comes in is full of this stuff that's holding on to her, and which she is holding on to because she's learned that she's got her defenses well in place of how to deal with this. And what energy work does is it slowly and lovingly and gently, because that's my intention, never to have someone just be changed. You can't do that. You need to have a time to integrate and adjust to changes we make, right?
Right.
So, so the integration is occurring, and the shift has occurred in the sense that now when Kathy goes out of that session, she's going to have, her energy is no longer going to be so solidly entrenched in, I don't know what to do, I can't communicate. Now it's sort of shifting, that's the word I'm using, into a place of questioning that whole premise. Like now from that first session, she's going to start questioning it. Geez, is that really true? Could it be different? Wow, do I actually have within me what it takes to enact a different way of communicating with the world? Do you see what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is what I mean by a shift in the energy field. And then from there, of course, would be some little bit of coaching. Like, say if an angel came to her, I would help her work with that angel. Or if we did a vortex session and she had been filled with a feeling she wasn't used to, I would maybe have her practice getting used to it in some cool ways. I have different techniques that can help people do that. So,
such as what's
well,
an example?
An example would be, for instance, I use and again, these are methods that I've used. Methods like the Sedona method, which that's a technique of asking yourself questions and allowing yourself to be comfortable with your own feelings. So, for instance, I might say to Kathy, let's say she's worried that she's going to have fear about whether she can do it. So I'll say, okay, Kathy, I'm going to teach you how to do this very simple technique called the Sedona method. What you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself some simple questions, and the questions are these, and I would tell her what they are. They are questions like, let me just zero in now. Could I welcome this feeling of fear that I'm having? And then Kathy would answer yes or no, truthfully. Either way, there's going to be release, whether she says yes or no.
Oh.
Yes. So, could I welcome this feeling of fear? Okay. And now could I take a deep breath, and just for this moment, could I just let it go? Yes or no? And she would answer yes or no. And then she asked herself, would I let go of it? Yes. Because could I is one thing. Would I is another.
Yeah, will I actually
would I
do
is
it?
another.
Yeah.
And then when? So she has to give it a time. When will I do it? And usually the answer will be now. It should be now, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to release. Mm-hmm. And they're more intricate questions to ask, but that's the simple version. So techniques like that are very usable, very powerful ways for people to empower themselves to take these shifts and live them. So
now, I know when we were talking before, I was asking you, are there any instances that you've had when you were healing somebody and something dramatic happened?
Oh boy. Well, I have had a couple. I mean, there's always something dramatic that happens to me. So there's
any movement forward is dramatic in
yes.
and of itself. But
yes.
if there's anything that just kind of stands out,
yeah, I've had instances where, well, two things come to mind. One time I was working on a person, and I felt that I should go to a certain area on her body, and I did, and I got so hot, and so I started to feel sick.
Was that with the Reiki?
It was with the synergy of everything that I do. Yeah, and it was divine energy just flowing through me for her.
Uh-huh.
And she, of course, wants to know what that is because she's feeling stuff moving. But I was just dumbfounded by the amount of yuckiness I felt. And I had to like step back and say, okay, now is this mine or hers? And it was very clearly not mine. And I had to step away and kind of remind myself, that she was releasing, that she was venting. And then, of course, when I went back, I continued. And at the end of the session, she felt like, whatever problem she had in her body had just like disappeared, that had been liberated, and that her thoughts about it, the darkness and the thoughts she had about what was being held there, because we hold emotional stuff in our bodies. And so when it was released, she was like, oh my God, I'm free of that. It's
well,
gone.
tell me a little bit about that now. And I've heard of this before. And so say you can hold emotions in your knee, for example.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then when you have energy, when you focus energy on the knee, you can kind of release it.
Yes, you can. It depends what's there, and it's multi-layered. So it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and I'll just, to simplify it, say karmic conditioning, right? So if your knee is hurt, if someone's knee is hurting them, it could be for any or all or any combination of those factors. So the knee not being able to move, let's say the knee is stuck. So I would be very curious, and I would talk to the client about this, so that again, in this divine matrix of energy that they're held in, and have their unconscious mind kind of revealed to them, and they would start talking, and up might come that they feel stuck in their job, or they feel stuck in a marriage that's not happy anymore, or they're afraid of moving forward, or they're stubborn and unwilling to release a certain position that they hold. So that's mental and emotional, right?
Uh-huh.
So that would need to be addressed, because as long as the mental and emotional are being held and stuck, the knee is the last place that has arrived. The mental and emotional stuff's been going on. And finally, the body is saying, deal with it, babe. Deal with it. That's what I've seen in my practice and in my life.
Uh-huh.
Obviously not all disease and not all physical issues stem solely from mental, emotional, spiritual, or karmic conditioning. However, a lot of it does. In fact, a huge percentage of it does. And people can get a lot of relief from physical issues. In fact, just last week, this might be interesting to you. Just last week, someone came in and she sat down, and if I remember correctly, yes, it was the angel radiance transmission for the whole session. And she sat down, and she, at the end, she said to me, Bobbe, when I walked in, my heart was heavy, I had pain in my head, I hurt all over, and I don't have any of that now. We were not addressing anything physical. We weren't working on the physical. I mean, when I say we, she and I weren't.
Uh-huh.
The universe was, right?
So how does a person know they need to see you? How do they come to say, I need angel healing, or I need soul treasure healing, or vortex healing?
Well, it's usually some kind of call from within that something isn't right. Something doesn't feel right in a person's life. A lot of people that come to me because they're anxious, or they feel empty, or they feel directionless, or they don't feel good, or they're not getting along with someone, or they can't figure out. So you see, it's this whole range of not feeling good in their life. And I guess my feeling is that we can all live better lives, and that these alternative methods are wonderful adjuncts, powerful adjuncts to the straight medical model for healing our lives. And I'm saying our lives very specifically because it's all of that, right? So I work with all kinds of people, you know, from who have all kinds of either a problem. It's sort of like, you know, honestly, it's like when people come to someone for therapy. That's what I feel a lot of it is about: counseling, coaching, and then this wonderful influx of divine energy that empowers the person to find their own answers and become their own inner healer. I mean, what could be better than that? So I think everybody could use, you know, help in their lives. I don't know anyone that really, I've never met anyone that couldn't benefit from alternative healing methods of all kinds, not just what I'm doing,
Right.
but of all kinds.
Right. Now let me ask you a little bit about the third thing that you do, which is vortex healing, and
Okay.
how is that different from the other things that you're doing?
Vortex healing is a really complex, beautiful system of energy healing. It's an energy healing modality that channels divine light and consciousness. That's what makes vortex different from other systems. Other systems like Reiki and integrated energy therapy and lots of other healing modalities whose names I'm not thinking of right now, they do channel divine healing energy or life force energy or divine light. But what they don't necessarily do is channel divine consciousness directly. And it's that consciousness piece which enables vortex to be so transforming on the consciousness level. So again, going back to someone who's very troubled or in despair, well, that didn't happen overnight. Let me tell you, that has been brewing for however many years or decades. And by channeling divine consciousness, the person can make shifts in their actual thinking and in their actual way of being that will allow transformation to occur on many levels. On many levels, again, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and karmic. Let me see if I'm leaving anything out because I want to make sure. And another thing about vortex that's very unique is it's a healing path and it's also an awakening path. And what I mean about when I say awakening is until I was 22, or around that age, and I had what they used to call a nervous breakdown, and I had to leave, the school, the college I was attending, because I was just not, I had so lost touch with myself. I was walking around kind of like just doing what I was told to do. Oh, I have to go to school. Oh, I have to get a degree. Oh, I have to earn a living. Oh, I've got to do this. Oh, I've got to do that, like an automaton. And once this nervous breakdown occurred, I was forced by what I believed to be the flow of life trying to take care of me to look at that. Why was I separate from myself? Why had I gotten cut off from the truth? And that's what I mean about awakening. I woke up to, wait a minute, there's something more than just me, little me and my problems. And there's a way for me to address them.
And thank you so much for being our guest. We have to wrap up now. It was so nice to have you come again.
Okay, it was fun.
My guest is Bobbe Bramson, and I'm Betsy Sawyer Galen. See you next time.